Craig Button rolled out a bold statement about the Leafs that sparked a lot of chatter on social media. Now, Jamie McLennan and Bryan Hayes get their chance to chime in on whether it's fact or fiction. Guys, Craig said, and I quote, "There's no better tandem in the NHL, maybe no equal to Stolarz and Wall," end quote. He also compared them to Ullmark and Swayman when they were brilliant sharing the Bruins net. All right, Hayes, fact or fiction?
I'm fact on that first part. Okay, I'm not quite fact when it comes to comparing them to Swayman and Ullmark yet, because it's so early in the season and so early in their history in terms of being a tandem, Gino. But the stats are in, man. We can go on tsn.ca and find this. What Craig said last night was a fact. When it comes to statistics, Anthony Stolarz, Joseph Woll, they're both top 5 in save percentage, both top 5 in goals against. They have been outstanding. And Stolarz has been the lead dog here because of Woll's injury earlier in the year. But he's had one off night, maybe two, and even those, it's not as if he was awful. He just struggled, relatively speaking. Stolarz has been outstanding, and the last month, Woll has joined him. They both have become a two-headed monster, and the stats speak to that. The confidence speaks to that. I think, again, the Leafs have had a lot of players who have played well this year. Stolarz has been their best player, and I think Woll has been right behind him the last month. So I agree with exactly what Craig said last night. It's early December. This is not April. This is not May. But as of right now, where we are in the NHL, yes, this tandem in Toronto, it is a fact, has been the best tandem in the league.
But guys, Bob McKenzie was one asked to name the best D tandem in junior hockey history. And he said, that's easy. It's Bobby Orr and whoever slug played along beside him. Connor Hellebuyck is the front runner for the Vezina. He's got the better numbers than Stolarz. Number one right now, he's spectacular. I would think if you could trade the Leafs tandem for Hellebuyck and Comrie, you'd make that deal in a second. So doesn't that mean the Jets have the better tandem, Noodles?
Well, I'm going to go because, yeah, it's a lot to unpack here, Gino, because if it's Connor Hellebuyck and Gino Reda, if it's Connor Hellebuyck and Jamie McLennan, I still think you would go, hey, we'll take Hellebuyck because of how great he is. And you're right. Right now, if you're picking the Vezina, he would win the Vezina because he's been that brilliant. But I think the word tandem comes into factor here because Comrie certainly hasn't been as good as Connor Hellebuyck. He's been great in a sense, but he hasn't played the minutes. So when you're looking at the word tandem, that's when Stolarz and Woll come into the situation. Now, factually, they've been brilliant. But I'm going to throw one other tandem situation at you, and that's the Minnesota Wild. Because Philip Gustafson and Marc-Andre Fleury have been right there as well. Fleury hasn't lost the game. Now, he's only had six appearances, but Gustafson is statistically right at the top of the league. And the Minnesota Wild, that's the team right there, they are at the top of the league too. So that's who I would challenge with the tandem of Woll and Stolarz. So they would be my number two. My number one would be the Minnesota Wild. But when you're coming back to just, hey, who's the best goaltender and who's along for the ride? There's plenty of guys. There's Vasilevsky and Jerry Johansson and, guys like that, Shesterkin and Quick, Sorokin and Varlamov. There's plenty of good tandems and guys that have been there. But the Toronto Maple Leafs guys have been fantastic, and I can see where Craig and Hayes are coming from.
All right, it's a great debate, but wherever you've got them ranked, it's the first time in what feels like forever the Leafs are really confident in their goaltending. Hayes, how much of this is the tandem of Stolarz and Woll versus the system that Craig Berube has the guys playing in front of him?
I'm not sure you can separate the two because I think they're linked. Again, the goaltenders have been outstanding, and I think Noodles would speak to this. You still have to be the last line of defense. You have to make big stops, and they have. But they're not being asked to make 40 saves every single night. 45, 15 to 20 high danger chances or slot shots. You look at the analytics of what the Leafs are doing defensively, it is basically night and day compared to where they were last year. And I think in large part that's Craig Berube and also Brad Treliving, quite frankly, because Chris Tanev is here, Oliver Ekman-Larsson's here, and their top four has been solidified. It's the best top four they've had in probably 20 years. So you look at the way they're protecting the crease. It's very, very efficient. The way that they're protecting the slot, pushing guys to the outside, that's Berube, that's the system, that's the players in front of them. So honestly, I don't think you can separate them, Noodles, because the goalies are going to benefit from better defensive play, and the defensive stats are going to look better because the goalies are playing so well.
100%. I agree. They go hand in hand. But that being said, I'm going to go back to a comment that you made earlier that Anthony Stolarz could be the most consistent and best Leaf right from the drop of the puck this season. He's been fantastic, and on a couple nights where they've been a little bit sleepy, maybe early in the game, he's made those big saves. He's helped settle the team into their game. So yes, Tanev, Oliver Ekman-Larsson added in with McCabe and Riley. That is a solid top four. The system, they're playing a lot harder, but the goaltender has been fantastic. So they do go hand in hand. Both of them have been brilliant. So that's the reason why the Leafs are right at the top.
Guys, the Leafs are currently third in goals against per game. Only the Jets and Wild are better. The last time the Leafs led the league in that stat, 1965, when the tandem of Bauer and Sawchuk were the best of the original six clubs.
The Toronto Maple Leafs may be taking a new approach to salary management, which could directly impact Mitch Marner's contract negotiations. During Kyle Dubas' tenure as general manager, the team didn't hesitate to spend heavily, and this trend began with a 6-year extension signed by Marner in 2019. At the time, Marner's $10.9 million annual cap hit set the market for superstar wingers, surpassing comparable players like Mikko Rantanen of the Colorado Avalanche, who signed a 6-year deal with a $9.25 million annual cap hit. Now, however, times seem to be changing. TSN's Pierre LeBrun recently reported that the Maple Leafs have implemented an internal salary cap, aiming to ensure no player earns more than captain Austin Matthews, who signed a 4-year extension worth $13.25 million per season in August 2023. The team's primary concern revolves around Marner's agent, Darren Ferris, who, according to LeBrun, might push for a percentage of the total salary cap instead of a fixed dollar amount. This could result in Marner's cap hit exceeding Matthews' $13.25 million, conflicting with the Leafs' new financial strategy. Ferris is known for driving negotiations to the limit, often taking his clients to free agency. This raises fears that discussions between Marner and the Leafs could drag on until July 1st, giving Marner and his camp all the leverage in negotiations. Another complicating factor is the rising market. LeBrun noted that Mikko Rantanen believes he could secure $14 million per season as a free agent. This sparks the question, could Marner demand even more? And would Ferris take that gamble, knowing the Leafs might opt to move on and sign another player? Marner has made it clear on multiple occasions that Toronto is where he wants to be. As a local player with deep ties to the city, he's expressed his desire to spend his entire career wearing the blue and white of the Leafs. However, staying with the team may require him to accept less than market value, especially if the front office remains committed to its new salary structure. Such a sacrifice could be vital for the team's collective success and to avoid financial issues that have plagued the recent past. While negotiations are still in the early stages, it's evident that Marner's future with the Leafs is at stake. Maple Leafs fans may need to prepare for the possibility of significant changes, but they can also trust in the player's commitment to the city and the franchise to find a compromise. The Maple Leafs' decision to implement an internal salary cap reflects a broader shift in their team-building philosophy. After years of prioritizing top-end talent with hefty contracts, the organization appears determined to strike a balance between superstar contracts and depth throughout the roster. This strategy aims to avoid the pitfalls of past seasons, where a lack of financial flexibility often left the team vulnerable in critical playoff moments. For Mitch Marner, this shift creates a unique challenge. On one hand, his value to the Leafs is undeniable. A consistent top scorer and elite playmaker, Marner has been instrumental in driving the team's offense. On the other hand, his ability to command a salary that rivals or exceeds Austin Matthews could put the Leafs in a difficult position, especially with a potential need to strengthen other areas of the roster. As the 2023-24 season progresses, the Leafs must weigh the potential consequences of sticking to their cap philosophy. Losing a homegrown talent like Marner would undoubtedly sting for fans and the organization alike. However, allowing one player to dictate financial terms beyond the team's structure could hinder long-term success and force painful sacrifices elsewhere. Adding to the complexity is the looming free agency of William Nylander. If the Leafs are to stick to their internal salary cap, they may also face challenges in retaining Nylander, who could command a significant raise. Balancing contracts for both Marner and Nylander within the new framework could prove to be the ultimate test for Toronto's management team. Another factor at play is the team's ultimate goal, winning the Stanley Cup. While star players like Marner and Matthews are crucial, history has shown that depth and balanced rosters often prevail in the postseason. If the Leafs fail to manage their finances effectively, they risk falling short of building a championship-caliber team, even with elite talent. For Marner, the decision to stay with the Leafs might come down to more than just dollars. His connection to the city, the fans,